Mimi's Cafe was founded back in 1978, inspired by the founder's time in France during World War II and named after a woman he met there. Now there are 44 locations in the U.S., and this is one of the favorite items on the menu, French Market onion soup. And today we're going to make a copycat of that amazing and comforting soup. Plus, to make it extra easy, we're going to make it in a slow cooker. So grab your aprons and let's get started. The first thing we need is to get our onions caramelized. And I'm going to tell you right now, these are the best caramelized onions you'll ever have. If you just want caramelized onions for any other type of recipe, this is the way to go. You can make them ahead, have them in the fridge or the freezer, ready to go whenever you need them. But for our French onion soup, they're going to be wonderful. And the best way is in the crock pot. Normally when you caramelize onions, it's a very slow process, a minimum of 20 minutes on the stove, constantly just stirring them, making sure that nothing's getting too brown. 20 minutes is the minimum. Longer than that even makes them better. In the crock pot, you don't have to worry about the stirring. It's nice, slow, even heat, and you're going to have beautiful caramelized onions. So sweet that they're nothing like your original product. For this recipe, we need 3 large onions. Now these are pretty large onions, so that's what we need, 3 of these. What we're going to do is slice them up. I cut them in half. Cut the stem end off, and then I usually take the top layer off because it's kind of tough. It's either tough or got the onion skin on it, so I just take that off. Now you can cut them just like this if you want to. I like to cut them in quarters just because it makes for a smaller bite in your soup. You don't want this big long string of onion in your soup, so I cut it down in half that way, not all the way to the root end, and then start slicing them. You want to slice them fairly thin. They're about maybe a quarter of an inch. A lot of people think of onion soup as something difficult, something that you have to have some culinary skill for. Trust me, with this method, you can be a beginner and make the best onion soup ever. I'm going to cut out 1 extra onion just because I want to make sure there's plenty of onion to the broth. Now this is just personal for me. It's not written in the recipe that way, but you can if you want to. This is just your own judgment and whether you want more solids in your soup or not. Now our onions are all cut up. They're ready to go in our crock pot. Now I have a 6-quart crock pot here. Get it plugged in. And all I'm going to do is put my onions straight in here. At this point, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. You can just dump it in as is. I like to get it in at least a little bit smaller chunks. Now I'm going to come back and stir these onions probably 1 time during this cooking, just to make sure that everything's going okay and everything's cooking the way it's supposed to be. But that's just something I'm doing. You don't have to. And in fact, normally when I'm making this, I'll put them on all night long. Then in the morning, I can go ahead and put in the remaining ingredients and then go ahead and let it simmer on low for another 6 to 8 hours. Then it's ready for dinner. You don't have to worry if it's ready a little bit before dinner. You just need to warm it back up. It's perfect. You're gonna love this. And as well as the butter, the only other thing we need is about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Now it's not much, but it's just enough to increase the sweetness and caramelization on these onions, make it perfect. Now I'm using a teaspoon measure here, so I'm using 6 teaspoons. At that point, we're just going to put on our lid. I set it for low for 10 hours. One thing I want to tell you, you have all this leftover onions, the root end, the stem end, and the skin, that tough outer layer. Don't throw it away. Put it in a freezer bag, stick it in your freezer. Put any of your other things like carrot peels, garlic skins, anything like that. Put it in that same bag. You've got a great starter for stock to make your own stock, whether it's chicken or beef or pork or vegetable. Don't throw this away. It's still good stuff. And then now after we have this cooking overnight, I'll come back and we'll finish up our soup. It's been overnight, 10 hours for my onions. And you can see how nice and dark they are. They look fantastic. They've gotten a little cool, so some of that butter has kind of congealed on here. But you can see these are just perfect caramelized onions. Now, if you don't want to use them right now, caramelized onions freeze fantastic. You can put them in a muffin tin if you want just individual packages. You can put them in a zip type freezer bag, anything like that, and they work fantastic. Then whenever you want to make your soup or anything else that requires caramelized onions, say you want them on top of burgers, take them out of the freezer, stick them in the microwave for a few minutes, let them get nice and thawed and warm, and you're all set. There's so many uses for these besides the onion soup. Okay, to this, for our soup, we're going to add 64 ounces of beef broth. Now that's 8 cups. You can use canned, boxed, or like I do, I use bouillon, either cubes or granules, to equal the 8 cups. Pour that in, just a couple more ingredients, and we'll be ready to cook our soup. First, we need a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. That just adds to the depth of flavor in that beef broth. We need a clove of minced garlic, or if like me, you're using the jarred kind, you just need, usually it's a teaspoon equals a clove. If you have fresh thyme, you want to put 4 sprigs on. If you don't, a teaspoon of dried thyme works just fine. And we also need 1 bay leaf. And this is something you probably already know. When it's all done, you want to take that bay leaf out so that nobody accidentally chokes on it or tries to eat it. There we go, and 1 nice bay leaf. Now we stir it all together. And now we're going to turn on our crock pot for 6 hours. You can do up to 8 hours. It's not really necessary though. You're heating everything through. You're getting those onions to meld with the rest of this broth so that it's going to taste absolutely fantastic. You're going to love it. Our family just loves it. We make it quite often, and whether it's hot or cold, but during cold weather, it's really good. So I'm going to put my lid on, and we're going to set it for 6 hours on low. After your 6 hours, it'll be all set to eat. I'm going to show you how to dress it up just a little bit with that great French bread crouton and cheese on top, just like you get in the restaurant. Okay, it's been 6 hours. Our soup is piping hot and ready. First thing I'm going to do is take out this bay leaf, get rid of that so nobody has a problem with it. Now this should serve about 6 people. I like to put it in these oven-safe bowls, a little bigger than ramekins. I'm going to fill this up. Now you can serve it just like this, that's not a problem, it's delicious. But if you want it to be restaurant style, I have some dried slices of French bread here, like a baguette. See, it's nice and hard. Just pop it on top. And then I like to use a combination of 3 great cheeses. I have some Gruyere, just going to sprinkle that on top. I have some Emmental, and then right on top, some freshly grated parmesan. Now this is definitely fancy style. You don't have to use these cheeses. You can use the cheeses that you like the best. You can use mozzarella. You could even use cheddar if you really wanted to. Swiss is a very common topping. Now I'm going to stick it under the broiler for just a couple minutes till the cheese gets nice and hot and brown, and I'll be right back and show it to you. There you have it. Hot, crusty, gooey on top, melted cheese. So good. I can't wait to dig into it myself. This is going to be my lunch today. A copycat of Mimi's French Market onion soup. It's a little bit of comfort food heaven. If you enjoyed this recipe, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more delicious and easy to make dishes. Share this video with your friends and family so that they can join in on the fun too. And as always, the recipe is just below the like button, as well as a link so that you can print it out. Until next time, have fun in the kitchen.